Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to every nook and cranny listening to or hearing these signals or hearing this information on our signals or 100,000 watt signals from our 100,000 watt transmitters in Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. We're going to have a great show for you guys today. Well, you know, folks, there is a great story I hope we get to, but I also have an interview with somebody we know well. That is Mark Thompson, who appears all the time on both MSNBC and CNN. We're going to be talking about what's occurring in Colombia. But before we get there, we have to get to the geniuses, the operators, the engineers, the guys who really make things happen around here. El Señor Howard Reynolds and El Señor Jacques Van Beba.
Jack, have you seen any of those guys around here?
Yeah, well, they're on the hamster wheel. They're spinning the hamster wheel so the strings and cans will work.
Okay, the tin cans and string. And they seem to be holding up this morning, so I think we're good. Jack, you got some for us?
Yeah, this morning. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good. All right. Love your mother. Your loving heart, Father Sky, and Sister Moon are all she needs to sustain her. Make your life a silent protest. Give up one thing you know is bad for our planet. Drive less, consume less, and especially single-serve plastic bottles. Love your mother. She's the only one we have.
Yeah.
Love your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Drive less. Get a bike,
Well, Mother Earth is going to get rid of us anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to be buried under, 16 feet of dirt, and all of our buildings will be gone. Just a matter of time if we don't respect her.
I like the way old Carlin put it. She'll shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Well, yeah.
Wait, was that George Carlin?
Yes.
Yeah, I love George Carlin, man. That guy's humor has such a high level of reality, intellect, everything that, my wife bought me just about, I think, every book that the guy wrote because, it was just so deep. And people don't get it. They just think he's a comedian. Nah, the guy really understood the system, man. He really did.
He really did.
Oh, yeah. George Carlin, rest in peace. But you know what? In fact, I wrote this book called As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And the last chapter in that book was a 3-minute skit that George Carlin did. And, it's great to read it, read the skit. But, man, when you listen to him do that skit, and you can find it on YouTube anywhere, George Carlin, the skit about, I won't say it on air, but it's a great skit. But anyhow, wait a minute. Something is missing here. We didn't get a rant from Brother Reynolds. What's going on? Is everything working out right in the world?
Well, it's okay. It's all right.
Okay. I was just wondering,
he's got a lot to do today.
Oh, he's busy today. Okay, what can I say? But anyway, folks, look.
We have that remote broadcast for Clint Broussard this morning, 9:30 to noon at the Mercantile. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it's always
going to be out there in all of his glory, and you can stop by and see him. It's over off of Stanford Street, not too far from the old location.
There you go. Anyway, folks, we got a great show for you today. I have an interview that I'm going to play first, and it's Mark Thompson. He spent some time at Columbia University a couple of days ago, really sitting with the folks, talking to the folks, etc., and not allowing the news media have done a horrendous job in covering the protests because they would have you believe that it's just a whole bunch of violent people, not realizing that they always have provocateurs in these protests that don't tell the truth. or try to make things wrong. Let me tell you, inside of those protests, there are Jewish organizations, Palestinian organizations, Gentile organizations, all of them working together. And they would have you believe that this is a whole bunch of Israeli hating or Jewish people hating folks that are protesting. That's how the news media wants to portray this, so they can then tag the anti-Semitism trope on it. Is there anti-Semitism on campus? Absolutely, yes. Just like there are so many other kinds of prejudice and racism going on campus. But the guts, the rationale behind these protests is humanity. The rationale behind this protest has nothing to do with anti-Jewishness, anti-Semitism, or anything of the like. And in fact, there are many, many Jewish organizations participating. And let me tell you how bad it has gotten. We actually have universities now banning Jewish groups that go against the grain. In other words, Jewish groups that come out and say, no, we need to change the paradigm. Some have already gotten disbanded from the university. So we have to be careful with the news that we get and how we absorb it. One of the reasons I hope you listen to Politics Done Right is that look, if things are wrong, we're going to air it. If things are right, we're going to air it. If we make a mistake, we're going to air it. But what's going on right now with the news media and what you are hearing is so uninformed. And you're not there. You depend on the Fourth Estate. You depend on the media to tell this true story. And if you're not getting it from the media, shame on them. But you know what? A lot of us independent medias now, we have a small platform that's growing to inform you and let you know. I got a 20-minute piece to play, but since Johnny is already on, let me get Johnny on before I play that piece. Johnny, come on in.
Hey, brother Egberto, brother from another mother. I trust you can hear me clearly right now.
Yes, I can hear you, my brother.
Okay. My introduction to George Carlin, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and my cousin, he brought one of Carlin's LPs, comedy LPs down, and we went down into the basement to listen to it because it had cuss words on it. And, there was conservative, crude people. Back then, we didn't realize they were conservative. We just thought they were all fuddy-duddies. So we had to go down to the basement to listen to George Carlin. And George Carlin has a fine history associated with Pacifica Radio, by the way. You know that about that's deadly word you can't say on the media.
Yes.
But one of my favorite videos of Carlin, actually, he made 2 separate videos to do with religion, organized religion. And one of them, it was a series he did, an HBO series in the final years before he passed, where he's up on stage and he's pointing down to the ground, the stage, referring to hell. And you got to see it. He's a very visual comedian as well as with words. He does both. So I recommend to anybody listening to this who's not familiar with George Carlin, when you're done listening to the KPFT lineup this morning, you got time, turn on your computer, go to YouTube, and type in George Carlin. Trust me, you will feel much, much better. He's a psychic relief. He's a comedian, deep thinker. He's a social critic. He's all that wrapped up in one.
Yes, thank you very much, Johnny. I appreciate your words. And yeah, I love George Carlin. I can just tell you that. In fact, we learn a lot from George Carlin because a lot of times what George Carlin does is he's funny, but he makes you rethink a lot of things you thought you knew. And when you rethink, it's like, oh my God, but anyway, hey, Johnny, I got to go play my tape. So thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother.
Welcome.
All right. All right, let's go to that interview with Mark Thompson, and then we'll take it on the other side. The Reverend Mark A. Thompson spent half of his life as a journalist and political activist in the Washington, D.C. area before relocating to New York City in 2010. He's a civil rights leader, political organizer, and an analyst, a radio and TV commentator, and the host of Make It Plain with Reverend Mark Thompson. He recently spent some time with the protesters at Columbia University. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing today?
Good morning, man. I'm fine. How are you? Glad to be on board with you again.
Absolutely. Great to see you. I saw you yesterday. I think you were on the campus of Columbia University. Tell me, what was the environment like when you got there?
Well, first of all, I went there Sunday, and the environment betrays the current media narrative and the narrative of some who frankly are just against the protest movement. It was very peaceful. First of all, the campus is pretty much locked down. You can't get on there. I was able to get on there as clergy because, as some may not be aware, Columbia has other affiliated schools. Barnard College for Women. Actually wanted my daughter to go to Barnard. She went to Morgan State, which is fine. Morgan State is great, and she's okay. And then Union Theological Seminary is also affiliated. So the students at Union wanted to have a Sunday worship service there. And I went there to participate in that. And it was a beautiful service. It was peaceful. It was calm. And frankly, my brother, I started to feel my age. Because there were people up there younger than my kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are babies. They're not hurting anybody. These are literally children.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it reminded me of my student protest history. Going back to when I was 18, we got Georgetown to divest from South Africa. But it was just a beautiful and peaceful experience.
Yeah, we did the same thing at the University of Texas in the 80s. We were trying to get the university to divest from South Africa. Now, I am glad that you started that way, and that the narrative that's placed on TV is not really the same. They make it seem like the campuses are a war zone, and that one of our Jewish brothers and sisters just can't walk across campus. Is that really the case, or is that more of a propaganda thing to try to gain back the narrative of what we're seeing occurring in what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza?
Well, what I saw at that moment was completely calm. But I am aware there are some isolated instances of anti-Semitic harassment. Anti-Semitism exists against
It's
Jews.
real. Yeah.
It's real. But to generalize and say these students and this student movement is doing that is not accurate at all. That's not an actual reflection of what's really going on. I have a colleague whose daughter was a student, a freshman at Barnard, and she ended up having to leave campus because of some of the nasty notes that were left under her door. So you're going to have we've always had provocateurs in the movement, but the general spirit of the students I saw Sunday, those who are at the encampment on campus at Columbia, was very peaceful and very nonviolent.
Now, it's interesting because Ursa, what's her name? I saw her on the news with you, Ursa Hersey, who is Ilman Omar's daughter. I think she was released. She got suspended from the school you were talking about, Bernard, right?
Yeah, she got suspended. Now, we actually weren't on together. She was on with Mariam Alwan. I was on with Mariam.
Okay.
Irsa was on with Mariam, and then Mariam and I were on together. Yes.
So okay, they cut into it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, they showed a clip. You're right. You're accurate. There was a clip with Mariam. I mean, with Irsa on there. Now, both of them have been suspended.
Right.
And
is that justified?
No. As a matter of fact, they were arrested. Check this out. It's a little confusing, so folks, I'm going to try to explain it. Follow along with me. Just show you how ridiculous this is. They were arrested, Mariam and those at the encampment were arrested for trespassing. And because they were arrested for trespassing, they were suspended. Well, you can't trespass
yes.
unless you're not supposed to be there, and you aren't trespassing unless you're already suspended. So they kind of got it backwards.
Right.
Should have suspended them, then arrested them for trespassing. I mean, if you want to follow the logic, right, do it. But yeah, if I were an attorney, I'd be all over that. Wait a minute, How you going to have him arrested for trespassing? Egberto, what president of any university in the history of universities and student protests, let me just ask your audience this question too, has ever survived calling the police on their own students?
I don't think any. I watched.
One, who kept their job? One.
No, I don't think it ever happened. It never happened.
So, when people start doing that kind of stuff, I have to say, this is an intelligent woman, supposedly, London School of Economics, IMF World Bank. That's her pedigree. That's where which raises some other questions. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
And, she's been titled a baroness by the royal family. Okay, let's just look at that. So at a point, I'm getting wonder, and I said this to people, as you get older, we look at things differently, Egberto. I'm wondering, maybe she's looking for some kind of severance settlement. Because you call the police on your own students, you're looking to get out of there and you want them to pay you so you can just go into retirement. That's just me.
Yeah, let me just let the audience know we're talking about Minouche Shafik, the current president of Columbia University, who called the cops on her own students for a protest that really was never violent.
Never was violent, and it was not trespassing. It's amazing. Who does not know about the history of student movements in this country? It did not reach the point of anarchy. And if people wanted to do their due diligence, they could draw a very clear distinction between the movement that is the encampment in Columbia versus any bad actors or provocateurs. And now this has only made it worse. Within 24 hours, NYU, MIT, Yale, University of Michigan, we expect this to spread at HBCUs. Right now, as we speak, there are negotiations around Joe Biden's speaking at Morehouse commencement, and we think he may have invited himself, because that's what you can do that. When you don't know that, when you're the president, you can call and say, I'm coming to speak at commencement. It's not always a request. You can just kind of do that.
Right.
And people give you that, because nobody expects you to say no. But that's the problem. And it also shows how out of touch the well-paid consultant class is in terms of advising Joe Biden and the Biden campaign. Why would you put yourself in a position to be embarrassed to be asked not to come to Morehouse commencement? Why would you even put that out there? You don't even realize that there is a student movement that is growing, and if Joe Biden's not careful, he's going to hand this election over to the Bibi Netanyahu of America, Donald Trump.
Right. It is interesting because it is concerning to me, the entire reaction around the country. We had where Asna Tabassam's speech was canceled. She's a valedictorian at USC. Right. We have several instances now where it seemed, first of all, as you said, anti-Semitism is real. And likewise, there are provocateurs that are going into the movement, as people go into every movement. My concern is whether there is an orchestrated effort to silence folks, what we're seeing now, a concerted effort to silence folks. We have on News TV today, Scott, I know you know who Scott Galloway is. Scott Galloway was attempting, a professor at NYU, was trying to equate, the 2,500. First of all, we condemn Hamas. There's no doubt about it. We condemn Hamas. What Hamas did was a bad thing. We have these folks that came out and said now that, look, the United States after Pearl Harbor killed several 100,000 people. So Israel's kill ratio is not all that bad anyway. How do we go ahead and sensibly make these types of comments on national TV?
Yeah, that was sickening. To do that and to start, using numbers or to try to do math on which is a greater amount of killing. This is the issue. See, because, and again, if you're a journalist, you ask the right questions. So what are you saying? All these 30,000 some odd Palestinians are Hamas? Is that what you're saying? No, they aren't. And so to kill innocent civilians, I mean, there are the civilians that were killed in Japan was wrong. Any killing of civilians is wrong. So to justify past killings of civilians, to justify current killing of Palestinian civilians, because civilians were killed in the past, that's just absolutely wrong. And so we've got to continue to make the call that's been made for a ceasefire, for an end to this. And of course, we all decry Hamas. First of all, it's interesting that people want that to be the greater statement more than the defense of Palestinian civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Egberto, none of us, how many people do you know? How many people do I know? How many people does anybody listening now know who was ever a Hamas fan in the first place? You condemn stuff. Sometimes you condemn it at the to which you were involved in it or condoned it in the first place. Who ever condoned Hamas? Nobody. So for us to be held to account, what about Hamas? What about Hamas? Well, it ought to be understood. The whole world is against the Hamas. Nobody, I don't know any Hamas. I don't see any Hamas fan clubs on Instagram. I don't know anybody involved in that. So you doggone right. But that does not justify the covering up, or the minimalization, I should say, of the countless number of Palestinian civilians that have been killed. And so to try to say that there has to be an equivalent denunciation of Hamas, equivalent to the denunciation of Palestinian civilians, I mean, it's understood. And frankly, it begs another question. The notion that because of the color of my skin, or because I support the Palestinian people, or because I want a two-state solution, or because I support nonviolence and human rights and justice, to generalize and say, well, that also means you might support Hamas. Then what are we really doing there? What are you saying? That goes back to the trope that those of us who are people of color, those of us who, as Howard Thurman would call the disinherited, people of color, people who are disenfranchised, people who are dispossessed, people who stand for human rights and justice, are themselves inherently violent and terrorists. So, it's a larger question. Let's just blanket everybody with the terrorist trope or the terrorist veneer.
Or even the anti-Semitism trope. And I like I said, anti-Semitism exists. But I think what I see a movement that's emerging, they're attempting to stop you by making one believe just by disagreeing with or agreeing that there must be a ceasefire makes you an anti-Semite.
Oh, and it absolutely does not. And so I support these students. I'm probably going to join them some more. And just, this reactionary. So, last night NYU had faculty arrested.
I heard. Yeah.
Now I'm going to say something else too, y'all. Wait a minute. So we got to look at the whole picture. Is this really just about what's going on in Gaza and in Israel? Huh? So who benefits from this? When October 7th happened, of course we decried what Hamas did. But immediately, and I can't help it, man. I'm just a political animal. First place I went was back to 1980, Egberto.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened with Jimmy Carter?
Right. When what Reagan did as well, right?
Hello.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Right. And so it cost Carter the election. So I'm looking at that. But now that this has escalated into the movement in the streets, now I'm thinking about 1968 and LBJ.
Mm-hmm.
And, the well-paid consultant class gets paid billions, but I don't get paid. I'm saying this for free. There is an element in this, including those, because now there's a relationship. When we're talking about relationships, there is less of a relationship between these students and Hamas, far less of a relationship than there is a relationship between some of the people who are trying to project anti-Semitism and harsh tactics toward these students. Those individuals have more of a relationship with Christian right-wing Zionism and nationalism. And who do Christian right-wing Zionists and nationalists support? Donald Trump.
Right.
So you got to have something to mobilize that base. Right now, they can't mobilize the base. There's nothing going on, and they're on the ropes. So let's create a foil. Let's create something to mobilize our base, so that we can get more of our voters out to vote for Trump. Because otherwise, they're not coming out like they want to. Trump can't even campaign. He's in trial. He's in court. So we got to campaign for him by creating this trope. That's what's going on. And there's a nexus: Trump, Putin, Netanyahu. And that's what we have to be concerned about as well.
And you know what's interesting? You wonder sometimes if some of the people on the inside with the president, the current president, doesn't really have his best interests at hand. After all, we have become complicit. I mean, we just signed a big war bill, and we never said, well, these bombs that we're giving you cannot be used against people in Gaza. None of that kind of restrictions on it. But anyway, before we close, there are a lot of other tidbits that I'm seeing out there. Google just fired 28 people for having a sit-in to complain about a $1.2 billion contract. I mean, we see a lot of these tentacles going out in different areas that if you have any objections whatsoever with what Netanyahu is doing and you complain or you raise stakes about it, that you pay a price for it. It seems like that is a real movement that is growing right now. And it seems like these students are just a pawn.
That is the movement. And, again, you look at the forces that are pushing that. What is their real agenda? This is a righteous movement. This is a lot like the Vietnam War. And that couldn't be stopped. And those who tried to stop it, LBJ, Nixon, others, paid a heavy political price.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't quite get it. And it's look, we can't have Trump. But if this continues, if the reactionary and the counter-revolutionary forces continue to attack students and young people and people's rights to speak out against human rights, and if Gaza and the people of Palestine continue to get bombed mercilessly as civilians, I don't know how people vote. What are they going to do? What are people going to vote for? And we know Vietnam cost LBJ, and we got something worse than Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
This is history repeating itself, and it's tragic because it's almost as if the Biden administration, or the White House, or the DNC, or the party, the campaign, is okay with that. And it's very, very scary. If Trump gets back in, it's going to be worse for the Palestinians. It's going to be worse for the world. Marriage equality will be gone. The revocation of Roe will be codified into law. A national abortion ban. These are things that we have to be. DEI is practically gone already. Affirmative action, no more. We'll be living under the same autocracy that other countries, including Israel, are living under now. Can't have that. So this has got to be fixed. The anarchists are not the students. The anarchists are those who are prosecuting this war against innocent civilians and punishing those who are speaking out against it. Those are the anarchists.
We should be careful as well. When you have a Jamie Dimon out there saying, hey, Trump may not be so bad after all, we have a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem. Anyway, any closers for me, Mark?
No, just on a side note, I'm thinking about going to the trial and maybe watching some of that and listening to it. I'll let you know. I'm seeing.
I want you to send me when you get out there. You gotta be in touch with me and send me some of that info, man.
The only thing to get us off of this other thing, can you imagine, Egberto, if they had cameras in this courtroom? It would be bigger than OJ.
Yes.
I mean, people would be calling in to work, especially everybody watching this. I mean, this is salacious. Dude, you paid to hush the story about a porn star.
Two.
I mean, you running for president. Who can do that? And he's in there falling asleep, and allegedly they say he's falling asleep and farting out loud.
Yes.
I mean, dude, this is wild. This is absolutely wild. I mean, I don't even. We've never seen anything like this, man.
Look, Mark, thank you very much for your time, folks. This is the Reverend Mark A. Thompson, the host of. I always get the name of your thing wrong. Make It Plain with Reverend Mark Thompson.
Yeah,
podcast.
You always get it right. I've never heard you say it wrong. You good, man.
Well, I have to think about it. But anyway, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right, my friend. Peace.
Thank you, my brother. Love you, man.
Love you too, man. All right, that was Mark Thompson. You guys see him all the time on MSNBC, CNN, and a few others. Anyway, let's go ahead and start taking some calls. So let's go. I hope I can get to a little bit of the FTC, but I want to take you guys come first. So let's go to Mike. Come on in, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, my brother.
Okay, so, as it turns out, unfortunately, the military-industrial complex is running this whole situation, okay? They just got Biden to drop $60 billion, okay? Biden, trust me, Biden is no Santa Claus at the company birthday party over here, okay? He's giving up just as much money. And actually, when people say that Trump would be better, he actually is, because Trump is such a crook that he's only worried about his Wall Street hedge funding and all that other BS. But you got to understand, Trump went against the military-industrial complex. How many people are going to die in Gaza and how many people are going to die in Palestine? The count never stops. It's going to keep on going. It's a factory, okay? Unfortunately, I work in the military-industrial complex. I broker fuel to the government. And just to show you, I think, let me see here. I'm showing you my latest count here, my inventory. We just finished selling exactly 5,000 railroad trains of fuel, oil, petroleum to the United States military for this war effort. 5,000. You know how many that is?
I don't know how many barrels in each tanker. How many barrels in each tanker?
Okay, well, no, I'm not thinking about numbers, but I'll put it to you this way: each one is worth about $8 million.
Wow.
Okay, and this is a never-ending assembly line. All right.
Right.
And whether it be Trump or whether it be Biden, neither one of them has a problem spending the money, because unfortunately, that's what happens.
Well, Mike, look, Mike, my phones are filling up, and you're absolutely right about the military-industrial complex. I think if you listened to our show yesterday, we talked about what really has to be done, which is we have to take responsibility, because the government is, in fact, a reflection of us, whether we are ignorant or not. So you brought some good facts for people to listen to. Let's make sure and vote appropriately. Anything else, Mike, real quick?
Nope. You know what? Keep up the good show, and I'm glad you get a chance to get your point of view out there.
Thank you, my brother. You have a great day, Mike. Let's go to Brother David. Come on in, David.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I just wanted to, before I say anything about this Israel thing, I just wanted to give my shout out to these excellent people in Chattanooga, Tennessee, man. This is
yes.
I don't know if anybody's watching something in your show, but that is just really absolutely wonderful. When I saw the results of that election, and the UAW has been trying to get a union in there, and you saw the results, man.
It wasn't even close, David. David, it was not even close. The workers are waking up. That's what we're talking about. Anyway, continue, my friend.
So my hats off to those people. And there's going to be another election sometime in the middle of May at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the home of the Crimson Tide. Anyway,
yes.
So here's the thing about Israel and this. Now, I think what's happening there is that Netanyahu and his Orthodox rabbinate and right-wing And now there was just a general that resigned because of the shabby way that he was prosecuting the situation. He allowed the massacre to happen. I think he was just a low-hanging fruit. They used him as one of the whipping boys to show him that, look, man, we're on this thing, and we're gonna make the changes. Anyway, see, the problem is this, and I don't know how many people actually read the Bible. Now, I'm no fan of the Bible. As an atheist, I don't regard any of this stuff. I think it's all myth and fable. And people out there think that they take the Bible as absolute truth. But there's a scripture right at the end of the Torah where Deuteronomy ends and Joshua begins. And he says, the Lord God says to Joshua and Caleb, when you enter into the land which I have given you for an inheritance,
kill
destroy
every man, woman, and child.
Leave nothing alive that breeds. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, there's another scripture in the book of Genesis that says that where the Lord God said to Abraham, wherever your foot touches, that I will give you for an inheritance to you and your seed. Now, the interesting thing about this issue is that the Muslims interpret it one way, the Jews interpret it another. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear about this use of this term Semitic. It kind of aggravates me because I said something to you before about the use of the term vulture. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember.
Okay, the same problem holds true with the term Semitic, except it's even more profound because the term Semitic arises from Noah had a son named Shem. Noah according to the story of Noah after the flood, Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And now, according to this scripture, the Jews were products of Shem. Their line originated through Noah's son Shem. So as a result, they're called Semites. The problem is this. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that this Noah fellow even existed, and Noah or his three sons. But yet they use this stuff absolute truth, man. We have to call the Jews Semites because, and now they're using the term anti-Semitic every time somebody criticizes Israel. Hey, you're anti-Semitic, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. The fact of the matter is this, it's nonsense. It's just based on myth and fable. And if people want to read information that I have about it, there's two really good books that I've had the pleasure to read. One's written by a guy named Richard Friedman. It's copyrighted in 1987. It's called Who Wrote the Bible? He comes to the same conclusion as two people that wrote another book. Israel Finkelstein and Neil Asher Silverman wrote a book that was copyrighted in 2001 called The Bible Unearthed. They came to exactly the same conclusion through slightly different methods. Friedman comes to his conclusion through this system called epigraphy, and Finkelstein and Silverman come to their conclusion through the process of archaeology. But they both come to the same conclusion that the first 12 books of the Bible, from Genesis all the way to Ezra, were written by this one fellow named Ezra. Ezra, who was Ezra? He was a scribe. He was a scribe of this good King Josiah. And according to what Friedman and Finkelstein both say, this Ezra had a team of scribes. They wrote the entire first 12 books of the Bible, from what Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, Ezra. And that's where it ends. And that was Ezra's crowning achievement. And he put his title deed on the thing by putting his name on the last book at that point. So when did this happen? About 500 years before the alleged Jesus. So this is how old the first 12 books of the Bible are.
David,
they will try to tell you that. Yeah.
David, I think you've given in the preamble enough information for folks to actually go ahead and find what's the name of the author of the book written in 1980 something again?
1987. It's named Richard Friedman. The title of the book is Who Wrote the Bible?
Okay, that's what I want, folks. That folks can start their looking up there. Thank you for that info, David. But I got to go take some more calls. Like I said, we're all enlightened from each other. Thank you so kindly, my brother.
Once again, I have to say congratulations to those folks in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I want to, in these thank you very much, David. We're going to Harry next. In these sensitive times, and I am oversensitive about the issue because I have a lot of Jewish friends that have asked me because they have the same stance that I do, but they want to make sure that people don't take it the other direction. Anti-Semitism does exist, but defined as people who are racist against Jewish people. That is a true thing. Being supporting a ceasefire and supporting the rights of Palestinians and supporting none of that makes you an anti-Semite. Do not allow anybody to shut you up out of the fear of being called an anti-Semite. Love your Jewish brothers and sisters. Love your Palestinian brothers and sisters, and do what's right for humanity. Let's go to Harry.
Good morning, Egberto. Thank you for quoting the Bible there, and you're absolutely right of how you explain anti-Semitism there. What those students are doing on those campuses, Columbia, Michigan, MIT, Yale, NYU, they're just protesting the Israeli government of Benjamin Netanyahu. And then, as you mentioned on this show before, was as far as Benjamin Netanyahu is concerned, who created Hamas, Hezbollah, PLO? It's people like Benjamin Netanyahu, Ariel Sharon, Amir, Golda Meir, because they are separatists. They want to take all of the Gaza and just push the Judean people out and the oppression. And kudos, I mentioned this before, to Dr. Cornel West, who I'm voting for standing with them and in solidarity. And the only way you're going to get either a solidarity situation between the Judean people and the Israelis is you'll have to get rid of Netanyahu, and he'll have to be voted out, and you'll have to have a reasonable prime minister, so you have a meeting of the minds. Or if you're going to have a two-state solution, once again, you're going to have a reasonable person, because it seems like every time you get one of these Israeli leaders, they just want to just continue to rob the Judean people of their land. And okay. I wanted to comment yesterday on yesterday's show when
real
Howard
quick, Harry, because I'm running out of time, and I really want to talk a little bit about the FTC.
I'll say it real fast. And thank you, David, for your enlightenment, and Mike. But I also want to comment on what Howard said about the MAGA people and the 65%. Those people, and I love what Mark Thompson said. Loved your interview. They want to they don't want demographic change. They don't want DEI to come to the fore.
Thank you, brother. You said you were going to be quick, Harry.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Brother Joe. Come on in, Joe.
Hey, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Hey, so I sent that thing again to kpft@politicsdoneright.com. And
I know you may not want to use your name on air, so you said you sent it. Can you tell me what is in the subject line, at least, so I can see if it somehow went to my filters?
Yeah, it probably landed in your filters. And the subject,
I tell you what,
more dead data.
More dead data. Okay, got you.
More dead data, and the username is joe.bigoil.
Joe.bigoil. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Anyway,
I'll look for it.
I wanted to ask you if you are following what's going on with the German Left Party.
Actually, I have not been following it. I know there's some issues, but I have not been following it. No, sir.
So a very popular politician there in Germany, Sarah Wagenknecht. I'm reading it. It's a weird name to pronounce. She kind of did something that and others. I think there are 10 others from the left party that kind of broke off. And what they did is something that I think that I see happening here. They took the left and they trimmed off lot of divisive issues, right?
Mhm.
They trimmed off like the over immigration issue that, they trimmed off the
LGBTQ, yeah. Go ahead. But tell me the point.
They trimmed off these other social justice issues, and they're focusing on economics,
Mhm.
right? And economic issues that everyone can get behind.
Mhm.
And so now there's a new party that's composed of what the mainstream media might call, the left and the right? So I would like to see something like that here. I mean, there's a lot of common ground between MAGA folks like me and progressives.
Joe, let me stop you right there because I love that you're going there, Joe. Let me stop you right there. I love that you're going there. I want to ask you a favor. Let's talk about some of that earlier on tomorrow because I love where you just went. And I really mean that from the depths of my heart. I love where you just went. So let's talk
We're not
tomorrow.
so far apart, but there are hard stops that you have and hard stops that we have, right?
Right.
And the next time one of these brainwashed people calls up and says, MAGA people are just a bunch of racist, ignorant people.
Hold on. Have you ever heard me say that?
Those people down, Egberto.
Have you ever heard me say that?
Yesterday, I heard someone say that, and you did not correct them at all.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Joe.
I hear it every day.
Joe, let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah.
You say a lot of things that offend me as well. And guess what? So that we can keep a conversation going, I'm not going to stop you at everything that I think offends me or that I think is misleading or whatever, because I can't get a conversation going that way. Right. So when people call into the, unless they say something fatal, I am going to let people have their say, just like I let you have your say. And then, but we'll go ahead and talk. And that's how the problem that we don't get to talk is that everybody interrupts everybody at every single stop. I do interrupt every so often, but not, I want your full message to get out. And I try to do that. And I hope you'll try to do the same. But let's talk about that because I like where you're heading. I really do. All right.
Sounds good, Egberto. Have a great day.
You too, brother. Let's go to Brian.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to look up? Mr. Google is really, really smart. The only thing you have to do is look up ice cap melting on Mars.
Mm-hmm. I saw it. Actually, not only wait, Brian. To show you that we listen to our people, and not only do we listen to our people, but also our people listen to our people. Meaning, a young man who listened to you talking about the ice caps, he sent me 2 documents on what's occurring on Mars. I hadn't gotten a chance to read it yet, but just to tell you from the headlines, some of it has to do with the darkening of the surface, just like the darkening of our oceans. Whenever you're not covered in white, you absorb more heat. That's a thermodynamic reality. You absorb more heat. So there are those factors. So I am in the process of reading these 2 documents that one of our listeners who heard you spoke. And when I'm done with that, we can have an intelligent conversation about that. But right now, I don't have an intelligent conversation to have with you on that issue. Okay?
Okay. It's called, wait a minute, 2 things real quick about the ice caps. It's called, I believe, Malkovich cycle.
Okay.
The Earth does not rotate in a perfect circle around.
Yeah, I know about that. Yeah, that part I do know about. But let's talk about that another time, Brian. I appreciate your call.
No, real quick.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I have one other point, real quick.
Yes.
China and India has built 14 coal-fired plants.
Yeah, true. Very true.
On 4 of ours. Okay.
Yeah.
We have reduced our greenhouse gas by 2%. China and India has increased theirs by 12%.
All right, let's stop for a second. I need to stop you there for a second. I got you, Brian. I really want to go, but I want to answer that. No. I want to answer you there, okay? During the Industrial Revolution, Great Britain and the Western countries, most of that carbon currently in the air belongs to us. Our carbon revolution, our industrial revolution, we got rich by throwing that carbon into the air. China and India, which has more population than all of us, They occur for over 2.4 billion or so people, 2.5 of the Earth's population, compared to how much we have placed into the atmosphere to get rich. They have put much less than we have. Yes, they have increased. We need to mitigate that. We need to make deals to mitigate that, not go ahead and say, your guys are putting so much in, because to get rich, we did put a ton of that into the air. So we'll talk about that another time, but I want to hit the FTC a bit. Thank you, Brian. You have a wonderful day, brother.
Yeah, do the same. Bye.
All right. Okay, look, folks, this isn't getting a lot of coverage, but the FTC has issued a ban on worker non-compete clauses. You all hear me speak a lot about all of us being antiseptic slaves. And people say some people get offended when I say it. Some people get mad, but I've started hearing a lot of people use the term now, right? That yes, in fact, the corporate state is a slave state, but an antiseptic one that knows how to do it better. They use all kinds of techniques to enslave you, right? A voluntary enslavement, one can say, but enslave you. Well, the FTC has issued a ban on worker non-compete clauses. Did you know that there were non-compete clauses in some? If you worked for 7-Eleven, you couldn't go over to a Burger King and that sort of a stuff. So it really meant it held you on to the job. Many jobs that people sign up for, they sign a clause that said if you quit, you can't go work in the same kind of field that you have the expertise for. And many a times, the corporations use it as an excuse. They say, well, look, if we invest our money into educating you, into putting all this into you, then we have to have the ability to hold on to you. It's amazing. It's always biased towards the employer, right? The corporation. We want to be able to enslave you. We want to be able to say that if you work here, if you quit, you can't go somewhere else, right? And do the same thing. Well, the FTC, here's its story. The Federal Trade Commission on Tuesday said employers could no longer, in most cases, stop their employees from going to work for rival companies. The sweeping action could help create jobs, raise wages, and increase competition among businesses. The agency said, but the actions is all but certain to be challenged in court by businesses, as usual, that say they need to protect trade secrets and confidential information. Look, I have always told you there is no billionaire that has earned the money that they have. It's been coerced, all that money, and it's been done with a smile because we accept it as somehow these guys earn it. Their great innovative state allowed them to acquire that knowledge. But the fact that you have to have non-compete clauses and all of that explains how these things can be attained. Let's give an example. You would have the tendency to believe that, okay, because let's use let's use Musk as an example. Because Musk has all this technology that he uses to build these rockets, he's the only one who can do it. Well, no, he's the one that do it because guess what happens? A lot of the people who develop with him can't quite leave easily and go somewhere else and do the same thing, right? So if I am an engineer working with Musk and I figured out that, Musk, it would be better if we have this particular control system on rockets for directional control that's better than what we're doing right now. And Musk says, no, I know it all. I'm not going to fund you to do that. And I said, okay. And I go somewhere. I feel now I want to go somewhere else or create my own company that create this directional system. Under the current non-compete clauses and these types of rules, I couldn't do it. I'm enslaved to the Musk people. And in that way, and by doing so, they can, they continue to profit off of what I give them. People don't understand this. It's not about what these guys at the top can do. It's about what you have done for them. Remember that. Musk doesn't program a line of code inside of your Tesla. Musk doesn't program a line of code that control those directional rockets that allow that thing to come down and land. He does none of that. Absolutamente nada. Nada. The only reason he can have time to play games on TikTok or play games on Twitter and argue with people on Twitter is because he ain't doing anything of substantive value. And yet he's a billionaire. It always behooves me that we don't understand that if these people can be out there, doing all these stuff and your rockets are flying and your Teslas are going on the road, it means that they are not doing a damn thing. Somebody else is doing the job. And that is where the effort really is. So when they tell you that we need innovation to get these things done, and the only way to do it is to make us ultra rich, no. Because the guys who are actually doing the innovation and the innovating, they're not ultra rich. So that proves that it doesn't take these super profits and these contracts that hold on to you, etc. What makes them rich is having non-compete clauses, having all these things that suppresses you, all these things that enslave you. And unless we, in our minds, realize that we are already empowered, that we are the ones who make this system work, not the billionaires. When you hear our brothers and sisters talk about, or even Bernie Sanders and all of them, it's not cliche. You are the ones, all of you that are listening to me right now. I don't care if you're flipping a burger or if you're writing a differential equation. I don't care if you're computing a calculus frame or you are a waitress or waiter in a restaurant. You are the ones that make our economy run. And every single one else doesn't. Anyway, I got to get out of here. I'm running out of time. Anyway, guys, real quick before I end this stuff.
No, nothing for me. Jack?
MAGA and progressives getting together. This could be cool.
Absolutely so. Anyway, folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. Go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. Politicsandright.com/newsletter for what we didn't cover here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. You know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.